First video of 2026 indeed. Had a little break over Christmas and the New Year, which as at the time of writing is January the 12th. It seems like weeks ago now. But anyway, won't dwell too much because it's never good to time date these videos because they get they become a bit silly really. But anyway, straight into it. Don't forget, like, subscribe, and yeah, hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up, please. And that's all the nagging you're going to get today. My name's Steve Hold, if you didn't know that already. My dulcet tones, Steve Hold, editor of TKC Mag and TotalKitcar.com. Nice, well, it's not a short, but it could be a short, but it's not a very long one today. I just thought I'd ease ourselves back into it quite easily and gently. We're going to look at the Gilbern mark, one of my favourites and the favourite of many other people, and I dare say lots of people listening to this voiceover. But we're not looking at the Genie or the GT or anything like that. We're looking at a Gilbern that didn't actually exist in fully finished form when I put my teeth in. Anyway, but it's called the T11. It was commissioned by the time 1969. By that time, the company had been sold by the founders, Giles Smith, the GIL of Gilbern, and I've never, forgive me, but I've never really known how to pronounce Bernard Fries or Fries, his surname, so forgive me for that. But the Burn obviously was was Giles's Gill to Bernard's Burn. There you go, and which a conflation of Gilbern, really, conflation of their two parts of their two surnames. By 1969, the company was in the control. It's known as Gilbern Sports Cars Bracket Components Limited, owned by the Collins family. Now they were owners of One Arm Bandit and Slot Machine Kings, the Ace Group. And the T11 was commissioned something a little bit racy. I think they'd seen that Marcos were doing very well, and other manufacturers. TVR, of course, were certain ups and downs, but certainly when they were up, they were up. TVR, to nick an old cliche there, but I've seen it said that the gifted designer and a personal favourite of mine, Trevor Fiore, real name Frost, but he spent a lot of his life and design career in Italy. The Italian word for frost was a bit more racy, but regardless of all that, Trevor Fiore is a superb designer. Lots of his creations have appeared on our classic kit cars and specials area on our website and on these videos before and on our Facebook. I'm going to do a little bit of an advert later on as well, by the way. It's nothing to... They're all free. There's no money involved in any of them, so it's a couple of bits of free advertising for you. You might be interested in. But anyway, it was said that Trevor Fiore designed the T11, but in subsequent accounts that I've read of his, he reckons that the final shape that emerged wasn't actually his design. So make of that what you will. But either way, I think the T11 shape was a thing of beauty. Much like, I suppose, Piper Cars came out with the GTR for Le Mans. Was that 69? And again, it was slightly different to what they'd been producing as their sort of staple products. And I think that was the idea. Something a little bit more racy than Gilbern were sort of known for. Fine cars, of course, but they were what they were. They weren't in any way, shape or form a budding Le Mans racer, but the T11 was. I think they might have built one prototype, and they had enough parts it's said, to build another two. And for whatever reason, despite being scheduled for launch at the Geneva Motor Show of, I think, March 1971, the whole project was canned shortly before. And I've never seen a definitive reason why. I mean, it's been suggested and speculated upon that they got cold feet. They felt that the car was going to be too far out of their comfort zone. They'd probably seen that TVR, all joking aside, had their ups and downs. And maybe they felt that Marcos had that particular chunk of the market sewn up. Who knows? It's all hindsight now, but for whatever reason the car wasn't proceeded with, and it was unfinished, of course. Although it is said that one was tested in part-built condition at Castle Combe, and it went very well by all accounts. I also think personally that the withdrawal around about that time of purchase tax had a big effect on kit car companies. It took away the financial benefit of building a car from a kit, or from a component, I should say, in some cases there. And that had gone. So maybe they felt that I think that certainly hit Gilbern quite heavily, regardless of T11 or no T11. But I do believe that the fact remains, I think, in my humble opinion, that it a very exciting project. And surely, if it was priced right, it would have changed the company's fortunes. But anyway, regardless, it was shelved, it was canned, it was not proceeded with. But scroll forward to the year 2000, and a chap called Gordon Johnston. He's a hero of mine, that's for sure. He's a Kent-based car mechanic and general car nut. I think he was a Gilbern fan, certainly a specialist car fan of that era, of the 60s and 70s. He became aware that the unfinished and by now very sad looking prototype had been sitting outside under a tarpaulin on a Dorset farm, and he managed to acquire, we'll put the photo of pretty much what he acquired, and his ambition was to complete the T11 now, and he wanted to bring it to roadworthy condition some 30 years after it had been binned. It's easier said than done, that sort of thing. I think we all start with the best will in the world and the best of intentions, but when I think it's a bit like sometimes thinking, I'll go for a swim. One day I decided that I was going to go to Pevensey Bay, which isn't that far from TKC Towers, for a swim at 6 o'clock in the morning in November. A couple of my friends were doing it, and I tell you what, I did it once for about 5 seconds, and I think there's a famous Billy Connolly thing about going swimming, and obviously that's kind of my feeling. And I never went again. I never will. I think best of intentions. I'd love to, perhaps, but I just can't bring myself to do it. If you do, then again, you know, you're my heroes. If you are one of these wild swimmers out in the sea in the depths of winter. Better folk than me, that's for sure. Anyway, it took a lot of dedication, sheer effort, and just a complete drive to reach the goal he'd set himself. And remember, he never had a template really to go on, because Gilbern had never completed a T11. Now let's talk about that styling. It might have been very racy and all the rest of it, and low slung and exotic, Welsh exotica of a car nature, but it was powered nothing more exotic than an Austin Maxi 1500cc unit that was mounted transversely in the rear. They'd never actually, as I said, fitted doors or a functional interior in period, so Gordon was really on his own. He did actually, and I don't know how he did it, and I do believe the good folk, and our good folk at the Gilbern Owners Club, helped him out a lot. He managed to source the original body moulds, which is a feat a huge feat to be able to do that. And he went about getting the body, working out what he needed. There's a kit car connection here. I mean, regular readers and listeners and kit car enthusiasts, you may well have been aware of the Silver Striker, obviously, when it was it was under the custody of a company called Raw Engineering in Hereford, run by an absolute gentleman called Mel Coppock. Lovely little company, and they marketed the Striker. I think Mel was an ex-chicken farmer, a big one as well, successful one, but he obviously a car fan as well. When he originally, I think he was an agent for Stuart Taylor Motorsport, and then an agent for Silver, and sold quite a few Silver Strikers and Phoenixes. Is that the right plural for Phoenix? I'm not sure if it is. Phoeni. Anyway, I think that's definitely not right. And then he ended up liking the product so much he bought it. Did a lot of good work, did Mel, and he developed the Striker and he sold lots of them. Also the Phoenix, as I mentioned, and came up with just a good overall package to sell the cars, and was always at shows and promoting the brand. He also did some general kit building work, and that's where he comes into the Gordon Johnston Gilbern T11 story. Mel's company gathered together what Gordon had delivered to them and fitted the brand new body that had never been on the chassis before, obviously, and functioning doors which certainly had never been devised. Created a way to get them to work. And I think the overall story is by 2009 the car was completed. Gordon displayed it at various shows, received much credit, and just complete shower of praise really for completing what was a 9-year mission. Several magazine features, including in TKC Mag, and it just generally incredibly well received. Disaster struck, however, in 2011, and the car was extensively damaged. I think from memory, a truck had either just pulled out on Gordon, and maybe hadn't seen him, or overtook. I'm not sure. He might have shifted lane and hadn't seen him, and effectively the car was extensively damaged. Thankfully, Gordon was unscathed. He walked away from it, I think, with a bit of pride and a few bruises probably, but it was properly damaged. It destroyed, so much so that the crash destroyed the rare Austin Maxi gearbox, which are rare and hard to get hold of. So Gordon took the decision to change to a Toyota MR2 Spec 4 AGE engine and gearbox. That's what Mel Kopok, one of the things he came into the kit car or became aware. We all became aware of him in the kit car industry when he was selling 4AGE crate engines to lots of people for lots of different cars. I'm not sure entirely that Gordon bought it from Mel, but Mel was a specialist in those, and the fact that he'd worked on the car previously to that. Anyway, they found a way to get the engine and gearbox from the Toyota into the Gilbern. And a second Herculean effort to get the car up and running, and the car still exists. It's still on the road, still enjoyed by Gordon. As you can see, it's quite stunning. It's quite visually, it's a memorable car. Once you see it, you won't forget it. And he still is to be seen at various shows around the UK. So I guess primarily in the south, but always look out for him. He's a really nice guy, Gordon, and he'd love you to go and talk to him about the car and ask him questions, because that's, after all, what it's all about. And he'll be delighted to speak to you, I'm sure. But that's a short and sweet story about the Gilbern T11. We're going to be back on hopefully back on one voiceover a week, moving forward into later part of January and beyond. My two bits of advertising. One is, I don't know if you're aware of the TKC Magazine Facebook page. If you're not, please give it a whirl. Search TKC Magazine and you'll find it every day. And I have been for the last 18 months, I think. I've not missed a day either. I've posted an interesting kit car with a little potted history of particular manufacturer, particular car. Usually of a sports racer kit type, the sort of stuff that you'd like. And if you're listening to this voiceover and you've heard others of our voiceovers, the sort of stuff that you'll like, I'm sure. So if you're not aware of that, please give us a whirl. You can follow us as well. And then of course, one you've heard me mention before, totalkitcar.com. Now I'm pretty certain, my memory's hazy, but I'm pretty certain 2026, or the end, Christmas Eve 2026, will mark 25 years of totalkitcar.com. I'm really proud of that. I started it with a £100 website, a domain name, a blank Word document, and a massive amount of enthusiasm, for which I still retain, and I don't need to tell you that, obviously. But so that's 25 years. I'm proud of that, and that's 25 years of Fridays which I haven't missed an update. And again, mega proud of that. That is my own Herculean effort. That takes some doing, I tell you. I've a couple of times during those 25 years, I've been struck by flu. I think I had measles once. I had a bad back that meant I couldn't even get around very well. I had a bad knee, but I still fought my way to the computer, or Trusty Carol brought the laptop to me, and I still managed to find the wherewithal to update the news, views, and Steve Says pages on that website. So that's free to access. Hopefully you'll like stuff that's on there, and please, we'd like to welcome you there. It's not just for Friday, it's available 24/7 globally, of course, and we seem to be, well, we're around about 17,000 unique visitors per month on there, that I'm delighted about. And number two after the UK, number two was, well, blimey, I think there's about 80 countries where we regularly get visitors from. Number two is North America, USA and Canada, and that delights me as well. So we've got a growing number. That is a growing number. That's going up exponentially. Delighted about that too. So welcome. Same as here. I'm guessing listeners to this voiceover are gonna. You could be sitting Peckham High Street. You could be in the Lake District in the UK. You could be in Germany. You could be in France. You could be in the Seychelles, which I will be very jealous about and not particularly happy about. But seriously, you're well, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, thank you for giving up a chunk of your time. We know how valuable it is. And I do thank you for visiting. And I look forward to welcoming you next time. I always make the mistake of thinking these videos or voiceovers, I always call them voiceovers, are in chronological order. Of course they're not. You might be listening to this in 2029. Forgive the ramble about the date and all that kind of